Not what he's saying, is who he is. And then the person is sincere. You have character and you sincerely love God. In spite of what's happening in your life, you love God. Why do you think the Bible refers to David as a man after his own heart? Yet what we know about David is that he's a murderer, he's an adulterer, he's a king who's not a good parent because we see his children rising up in his life, but yet he says he's a man who loves God. It is not what David did that we focus on. It's that David is transparent enough to acknowledge his sin and his transgression, and he comes back to God, not blaming anybody but himself. Psalm 51 is his redemption. That's why he's a man that loved God, because he's not blaming his environment. He's not blaming his family. He's not blaming his job. He's not blaming the lack of money. He said, Lord, it's me, and against you only have I sinned and done this evil. I've done it. Nobody made me do it. Wasn't because she took off her clothes. I did it. I had not been looking, I wouldn't have done it. It ain't nobody else's fault but mine. Because that's what we do. That's what Adam did at first. The problem with sin is that we shift the blame. And as long as we keep shifting the blame, we justify where we are. The Lord said, Adam, where are you? How come you ain't came to dinner with me tonight? He said, the woman you gave me. See, it's always somebody else's fault. When you see people always blaming, always got an excuse that it's always somebody else's fault, that's the problem right there. They have not acknowledged that they have an issue. David's a man after God's own heart because when pointed out his wrong, he always acknowledged it was me. We just sing a song, it's me, oh Lord, standing in need of prayer. Not my mother, not my father, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in need of prayer. Not my sister, not my brother, but it's me, oh Lord. But here we go. If I had a better job, if I live in a better community, if my wife would just get it together, if my children would just do this, if I just had more money, if I had a better car, if we just had better air conditioning in the church, if we had just had more pews, if Roger would just play my song, everything is an excuse. And it shifts us being responsible because we blame it on everybody else. I could have preached a good message today, but the sound system ain't hit my mic right. You know. Everything would have been okay, but them brothers, they looking at me all funny. When does it become you and not them? Uh-oh. I'm almost through. We got two characteristics. You got to have character, and you got to be sincere. That's two things, right? Read verse 2 through 4 again for me.
He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness, and speaketh the truth in his heart. He that backbiteth not with his tongue, nor doeth evil to his neighbor, nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor, in whose eyes a vile person is condemned, but he honoreth them that fear the Lord. He that sweareth to his own hurt, and changeth not.
Wow. I think that what's getting ready to happen is that we're getting ready to find 4 things that are not inherent in you or in me, that must be imparted to us in order to be able to do it. So there are 4 things. Let's get these 4 things down, and then I'll define the other 2 characteristics that are important. He says, first of all, that the righteous person, the one who's going to enter, is one who's doing good deeds. Secondly, he says that the one who can enter in is the one who has sincere words. So his word means something. See, the idea of being sincere is that when you make statements, we can know that your statement carries some weight because you're going to do what you said. That's what sincerity is all about. Sincerity is that when you make promises, when you make claims, when you make the idea of saying something, that you will back it up by what you do. You know, if you say you're going to be here 9 o'clock and you get here 9:30, It's not a question of whether or not what the excuses were. Well, I had this, I had that, but you said. So then my word has to take more effort than what I'm doing. If there were obstacles that caused that, that might be an excuse, but my word. People start patterning how they deal with you by the way you respond. You know, if your pattern is always to be 30 minutes late, it can't be an excuse. It's got to be a habit. Now, I understand you can be late sometimes. I'm not saying that. No, you're never late. But your desire, your sincerity is to always be on time. And when we check the report card, there are more on times than there are off times. That says sincerity. That's what sincerity is all about. But if your record is showing you have more negatives than positives, but you keep claiming the positives, something's wrong. Then your word doesn't mean anything. But you know what? The word and the deeds is backed up with number 3. The third characteristic is your attitude. Because even though you say something, even though you desire to do something, if you got the wrong attitude, your attitude is going to come off more clear than your words. In other words, I can't hear you for your behavior. Character defines entrance. If your character is not right, you can't get in. Isaiah 33, verse 13 through 16. Can you get that for me? Isaiah 33. I think it's verse 13 through 16. Show you something. Character defines your entrance. And I think when we get there, we get to the point that we understand something, we get something, we place ourselves in this position that if we're going to be truthful, we're going to be truthful to God no matter what. Praise God. Isaiah 33, 13 through 16.
Hear, ye that are afar off, what I have done, and ye that are near, acknowledge my might. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Fearfulness hath surprised the hypocrites.
Wait a minute. It says that the people in Zion are afraid. Remember Zion, let's go back to Zion being an impregnable fortress. It is where you are protected, but they are afraid. Why are they afraid?
Fearfulness hath surprised the hypocrites.
Fearfulness has surprised the hypocrite. A hypocrite is one who puts on a false face. In Greek, a hypocrite was one who wore a mask, because actors on the stage in Greek mythology and times that were back in plays in Athens, they wore masks when they acted on the stage. And so they were another person. They wore a mask. They weren't really who they were, but in order to act, they had to have a mask on. Actors don't act with masks on now. My mother was still alive, God bless her. She would see actors on TV, and she saw them die in one movie, and now they were in another movie. She was like, they died in the other movie. I used to explain to Mom, it was acting because she thought it was real life. She couldn't understand how one character would be dead in one movie and then be alive in another movie. But that's the way we are. Sometimes, in being a hypocrite, it means you wear a false face. It means that who you are perpetrating yourself to be is not really who you are. And the thing about acting is that you can't keep the scene consistent, because the real you is going to come out eventually. You know, the dating game. let me go there. You know, everybody's trying to put on an act, and because we don't spend time enough with people before we enter into commitment with them to learn whether or not that was a mask or the real thing, we are surprised later when you comes out.